Hey, yeah, this is Friendly Honey Badger. I have naturally curly hair. So yeah, I'm under here. I don't keep it down like this because it's a lot for me to manage and I have sensory issues, so it makes me crazy. But here we are. I saw something on my counter and I wanted to show it to you to explain something. I get a lot of everybody in there's bad. They are inherently bad people. They were drawn to him because they are inherently bad. Regardless of the fact that most of them were born into this. My mom wasn't born into the Mormon cult, but she left Catholicism and she joined because my dad was a member. And that's how that all started. And she always voted red. Diehard Reagan, trickle-down economics. He's the greatest guy. We had Reagan stuff up in our house, but I didn't know much about politics, and my parents didn't, but that's who we all celebrated at our church. And then COVID happened, and I got it from someone that lied about wearing a mask. I was taking care of their kids, and they lied about it and gave me COVID. Then my sister said, our dad has COVID. I'm going to bring him to my house because I don't want him dying in there alone. I said, okay. And then she got scared in there because she knew she was going to get COVID. So I went in there with her to take care of him. And Tuesday, he was laughing, having a good time. Thursday, I think it was Thursday, Thursday was incoherent, Saturday dead. I have pictures of all of it. It went viral on Reddit and Twitter, and I got a bunch of death threats and all sorts of things. And I was just trying to show people it was real because this was in June of 2020. And then I got a horrible case of COVID, as did my sister, and the effects have never gone away completely. But when we were in there, my siblings were outside the glass door, and it was 114 outside, and they weren't coming inside because they'd get COVID. So we were in there managing it, basically trying to have a funeral while helping him die with a doctor on the phone. And some of my family members were making jokes about COVID. About how this is just, exaggerated while they're seeing us in there getting sick and watching our father die. That's what Fox News does to people. Because my brothers are very good people, but they were saying things like that while they watched their father die. And then my mom kind of, she believed a lot of that stuff. And we were raised anti-vaccine. I'm autistic without a vaccine. How do you get that? Genetics. Anyway, so then the 2020 election was coming and my mom was posting stuff for Trump. And then she posted about that the election was stolen. And I about lost my mind as I was fucking crippled. And I said to her, if you post something like that again, I'm never talking to you again. And she did, and I blocked her. And that was for 3 years. But then 2024 rolled around, and I needed to know if her mind had changed at all because I didn't want her to vote for Trump. I didn't want anyone to vote for Trump, so I was sticking my neck back out there. And so I could tell she probably still voted for him, but I didn't want to say it specifically. So I talked like she knew that he wasn't a good idea. I didn't rip on him, but I just oh my gosh, Trump. Or, oh my gosh, this Project 2025 has me scared. And I just read it to her and her eyes would get big, but she never said anything. So I would just talk to her about it, and I talked about my feelings about things and my concerns about what these things meant for girls and for her granddaughters and things like this. And she listened, but didn't say anything. So I really had no idea where I was getting through to her. And then one day, I don't know if it finally broke through, but basically, she wasn't going to vote for Trump. She was going to vote for Biden. And then she watched the first debate with him, and she was just all about Biden. Whereas I was just I want someone better. He shouldn't have run. And then Kamala showed up, and then she just enchanted my mother. And my mom just loved her, and she read about her, watched the documentary about her. She She watched every rally. I mean, she'd heard the same stuff 100 times, but she still, watched that, donated as much as she could, read and studied to catch up on all the things she didn't know about, like feminism and just huge gaps of things that everyone assumes people in cults know, but they have no idea. You're isolated. Your algorithms are different. The news is different. Everything's different. Your friends are different. Like, you miss huge things. Anyway, part of why I say this is because when I was talking to her, her phone would go off all the time, and it was asking for donations. So it was like, Trump needs your help. The commies are coming. That kind of stuff. So I would see her phone. And then I was on her phone for one day, something she needed, and I needed to look up a photo for her. And then there was this picture of Kamala looking like a hyena, like this really scary face. And this was before she was even running for office, but it was some meme that one of her friends had sent her. And I just felt sick, but I didn't bring it up because I knew that would embarrass her and she wouldn't know how to defend it. So I just left it. And then, so there was that. But what I want to show you is this is the mug she drinks from every day now. That's Kamala shaking that man's hand. Remember at the beginning of the debate, she went up and she shook his hand and she gave him the look. That's my mom's coffee cup every morning. And I get people all the time saying they're all bad, they're all bad, they're all bad, they're irredeemable. And it's just simply untrue. There's just a stereotype and we just throw it across all of them. But it absolves us of having to educate ourselves about cults, about how a lot of this happened, about the people that are really in there, about how we can impact them. Because we yell facts at them and assume that they know what we're talking about, and most of them do not. My mom wouldn't hurt a fly, but everyone, in my comments constantly like, they're all racist, they're all bigots. Do you know who my mom loved? Nina Turner. That worked with Bernie. I'd send her stuff from Bernie and that. This was years ago. And she'd say, I just love her. That was before she got out over here. She was still Republican, but she loved her message. She loved her fire and her passion. So these assumptions that we use to almost absolve ourselves and to cling to our rage, to protect ourselves from either going out and risking feeling hurt again and feeling that anger, or just to keep back and go, well, there's nothing to be done, and absolve ourselves of it. But we can't, because we are always with them. They will always be with our children. They're always going to be around to oppress and do things and not have the education they need because we refuse to do it in a way that they can hear it. But people like my mom are all over in there. They're not just all a bunch of racist bigots, whatever. Is a lot of that in there? Of course it is. But there's a lot of it that isn't. I've heard from a lot of you that says that's the thing. My parents aren't bigots at all. If they were, I'd call them out. They're just not. It's just something else going on. And usually it's a lack of information or it's a lack of experience with people on the outside world that challenge the way that they are taught about them. So if they're taught to hate, certain people and they go out in the world and they attack them, then that view gets reinforced. Like, oh gosh, they really are right. Ooh. But for me, that happened with the gay community, and I had an amazing experience, and it broke my brain because I was taught these people couldn't go to heaven and they were sinners and evil, and they showed more compassion and love than I'd ever experienced in the church. So we have to be open to who people are and be as great with them as we can be, when we can be, because you don't know the impact you're going to have. But to just blanket stereotype them is what we hate that they do to us. And it keeps both sides absolutely right and not having to risk anything about getting to know the other people so that we can actually make a difference around here.